Good morning, Chair, board members, General Manager, staff, and members of the public. A few housekeeping rules. In order to minimize background interference, please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices and place your speakers on mute unless you're speaking. Because this is a remote meeting, I'll be taking a formal roll call. Please respond yes or here. Chair Russ.
Here.
Member Gavin.
Here.
Member Gawob.
Here.
Member Young.
Here.
And Mr. General Manager.
Here.
Thank you. Chair, there are no members of the public who registered as required in order to provide comments. As such, we will proceed with the regular calendar. The first order.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The first order of business is a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. Do I have a motion? Board members.
So moved. Paula Gavin.
Second.
Second, Matt.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to the reports item on the agenda. Chair, do you wish to provide any comments or remarks initially?
Thank you so much, Jackie. I'm just going to do a short update for the board on a couple of items. I wanted to advise the board that we are completing negotiations and discussions with HUD on the reorganization and transformation plan. And we're very hopeful that we will get approval of that document with a subsequent implementation planning period required, where we'd actually break down into working groups to begin to both engage staff and residents in implementing the changes that are in that document. If you recall, we had that document out for public comment in December. It was submitted to the monitor, the Southern District and HUD, and we have been in discussions with them for the past 3 weeks or so on questions that they've had and concerns and coming up with a strategy to put that in place. I wanted to alert the board to this because we may need to hold some additional meetings as a board as transformation changes unfold. There could be everything from amendments to bylaws to approving a reorganizational structure, business process changes, and policy documents related to those. But we think in the next few weeks we should hear from HUD if they've accepted and approved the plan, and if what conditions they may impose on it or not. So we're encouraged by that. I think that would begin to set us up for a lot of additional work on our restructuring. The second area is that we still continue to talk with HUD. We're waiting. We hope the arrival of the new secretary. We know that I'm not sure when she's scheduled for maybe vote, but some of her team is in place. We will likely be talking to them and briefing them on our capital plans through the blueprint. We're also working to revise our legislative proposals for the Preservation Trust, which is our blueprint partner. And that's been going on since the trust bill, if there is one, would have to be reintroduced in this new session, legislative session in Albany. We continue to engage and meet with residents on these things. We have now reached a point where I've had the opportunity to engage 80% of all the tenant association leadership. I'm going for 100% in the next few weeks, and we'll have talked to resident leaders in a variety of formats and the resident associations, either in small groups, property-based, town halls, and district meetings. And I just want to give a special shout out to the resident engagement staff who've really supported this effort, and comms, intergov. It's really been a team effort to do this outreach. We are also beginning to do flyers on the trust. There'll be additional conversations so that we can present the facts accurately and in full to the residents and get their opinions, comments, and suggestions back. I've stressed to them, a lot of folks felt that we had this plan all cooked and it was all done. I said, look, all we've got is a set of ideas at this point. And we want to make sure that you hear why we think that this this could work, and also get your input. So I think I'm hopeful that by the March board meeting, I may want to do an update on the blueprint and capital plan. I imagine that Eva Trimble will probably come back to the board with transformation plan items, but those things are moving along. And I also want to give a shout out to operations for their continued work through the winter, responding to all manner of issues, being not just heat, but some of the other things that have come forward. So I wanted to give the board just a quick summary, and then I'll turn it back into the regular agenda. But I think the March meeting will have more comprehensive updates for you on all these items.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just, before we go on to the next report, I'm going to remind everyone, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphones. It's very important. This meeting is being recorded and to be transcribed at a later date in accordance with law, and background interference only leads to an inaccurate transcript with misspellings, incorrect words, etc. Thank you so much. The next report is an overview of NYCHA IT, and it's going to be presented by EVP Patty Bayros. Patty.
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Patty Bayros, and I'm the EVP and Chief Information Officer at New York City Housing Authority. Thank you for giving me some time this morning to present an overview of our IT system. Next. So today we're going to be talking about just general mission and values of IT, talking about how we can support the transformation plan, an overview of some systems and services, some accomplishments that we've achieved, and some key initiatives in the coming year. Next. So I think everyone is familiar with the mission and the values that have been presented in NYCHA's transformation plan. And to support that, we've been working on the NYCHA IT mission and some guiding principles. So the mission that we have defined is to enable NYCHA to provide quality housing by delivering meaningful, innovative, high-performing, and cost-effective technology solutions. And we aim to do that in every way to support the overall transformation. With that, as we transform IT, we established some guiding principles that we would like to guide the way we operate. So first and foremost, customer centricity. So how do we think about all of our customers? And that means anyone using our products and services, and trying to put ourselves in our customer shoes and think about things from their perspective. Secondly, resident impact. We obviously try to have a positive impact on our residents for all of the things that we provide. And that's something we want everybody to be thinking about in everything we do. The diversity of our team, thinking about diversity and respecting that within our team and outside of our team. Driving innovation, encouraging everyone to think about innovation as we are coming up with IT products and services. Always safeguarding the data that NYCHA possesses, especially when it comes to our residents. Thinking about partnerships, cultivating them, existing and new partnerships to help us achieve our goals. Measuring our progress and success, and thinking about that from the business perspective, not just thinking about it from basic IT metrics. And last but certainly not least is thinking about how we can do things better all the time. So thinking about what is it that we're doing, where could we improve, and learning from anything that we can take away. Next. So in the submitted transformation plan, NYCHA IT is, of course, a part of that. And we have been thinking a lot about what are the goals we need to possess in order to set NYCHA up for success. And so firstly, we need to make sure that whatever we're doing aligns with and supports the overall goals of NYCHA as we transform. And then, of course, we need to strengthen our core products and services to make sure that we set people up for success as we move forward. So what particular strategies are we looking to employ to be able to do that? So we want to make sure we have a strategic direction that is clear for our team. We want to make sure everybody's moving in the right direction and that is strategic to support NYCHA holistically. We want to break down silos within IT and also between IT and our business teams to foster collaboration and transparency. We want to make sure that we're focusing on cybersecurity and that we are building out a formal plan and enhancing how we do testing of our systems. And fourth, we want to make sure that we're investing in IT service management. And IT service management is really just a framework to look at how we support our products and services. And we want to make sure that we're investing in that, in the processes that support it. Next, please. So what does an IT transformation look like? And what do we need to do to support really transforming the IT department up and down and building on successes that we've already had, taking it to the next level? So we need to think about that from the perspective of our people, our processes, and our technology. So here are just some examples of each. From the people perspective, we are doing an organizational redesign, and we're in the midst of finalizing that now. And we are also really thinking about how do we invest in our staff? How do we train them? Thinking about our culture, and are we sending the right messages to our teams and supporting a culture that supports the larger NYCHA community? On the process side, we want to really invest in our processes around service management and the ITIL frameworks. We want to learn, implementing lessons learned exercises and setting up tabletop exercises to make sure that everybody's familiar with the processes and standards that we are trying to make more consistent. And we're really focusing on thinking about things from an enterprise perspective, not just one-offs, but really from a holistic perspective across the enterprise systems. And relationship management is, of course, a big part of our processes going forward. Thirdly, but very important, of course, is technology. Are we providing the right technology solutions to solve the business problems? Not just implementing technology for technology's sake, but modernizing and making sure that they align with business goals. Next, please. So how are we going to do this? Like, how are we going to achieve all of those things? So this is an operating model that is the way we're striving to work together in IT going forward. And really, historically, IT has been a little bit more reactionary, more of, I would say, a build and run organization. So, and I think that's largely because of, the urgency around a lot of what NYCHA does. And of course, we want to make sure that IT is a support for that environment. That said, planning is really important. And while planning does sometimes delay things, it is actually setting us up for doing a better job when we build and support our systems. And so in the new model, we really are going to be investing in the plan part of operations for IT. So that means really stepping back and thinking about how do we get to know the business and partner with the business differently and even more closely than we've always been. And focusing on things like relationship management and business services. And also just thinking thoughtfully about the roadmap going forward for IT and making sure it's aligned with business goals. Secondly is the enterprise solutions management, which is the build function, but really there's a part of that that's planning, right? From the perspective of design, when you think about designing our systems, that's really planning before we jump in and start building. But there's a building perspective there, and that's where our systems are built or configured. And then the yellow box would be operating. So that's supporting all of our systems that run for operations, IT operations. And that is really going to look a little different than it does today in terms of having our applications teams, our infrastructure teams, and our network and telecom team really under the same roof and solving problems and supporting our tools in a more integrated manner. Cybersecurity and risk management, of course, is across the whole segment. We need to be thinking about cybersecurity from the very beginning at the planning stages to make sure that that's factored into everything we do. Similarly, IT support services really transcends the whole process, making sure that all of the different teams have the support of IT service management and other parts of the support services team as we move forward. Next, please. So this somewhat dizzying slide is an attempt to kind of demonstrate all the different solutions that we have and how we are supporting the business. And this may not be every single one of them, but this is a large portion of them. And in order to make it a little clearer, what we've tried to do is group it into different segments. And I won't go into every single one here, but I'll use some examples. So on the very left, we start with telecom services, and this would include things like our network and telecom. It includes things like network switches and circuits, but it also includes things like phones and different kinds of devices that connect to the network that underlie our infrastructure. Moving to the right, we have our infrastructure. So that would be things like our data center, our equipment, all of the things that connect to our network that support all of our systems that have to sit on our infrastructure. And that would include things like servers and other things. Down the middle, we start with communication and collaboration. So this would be with all of our partners and customers, right? So that includes starting with board members, NYCHA staff, residents, landlords, all of the different stakeholders that we work with. And that includes things like our Microsoft Teams environment, a new Everbridge system that connects with staff and residents, things like the My NYCHA app, and other types of products and services that support communications. Beneath that, on the left, we have public housing and leased housing. And this includes things, of course, like Maximo and Siebel that everyone is familiar with, but there are a lot of other tools and solutions that support public housing and leased housing operations. Beneath that, we have resident services and engagement. That includes things like the kiosks and the digital vans, along with things like, of course, Siebel and self-service platforms. The remaining boxes on here, the law department, capital projects, compliance, procurement, finance, and human capital management, all use a variety of other tools as well to support their everyday business in central office. And so this is a general picture looking across the bottom. These are just some of the vendors that we partner with in terms of solutions and products and services that support the very large portfolio of applications and systems that IT aims to support every day. Next, please. So here is where we are trying to support and make demonstrate how our tenants and NYCHA staff rely on IT solutions and how NYCHA IT supports the everyday work that our staff does. So here, and this is done through what we call a journey map. There are a lot of different ways that this can be represented, but this is a traditional journey map trying to represent the customer journey. And in this case, we're looking at the tenant experience, the NYCHA staff experience, and the landlord experience. This is a bit simplified. There are a lot more steps, and there are other participants. We could have included HUD and others, but just trying to represent how IT systems work throughout. So if you look across the bottom, they're like our Siebel system. They are using things like our document repository, universal content management system. They're using our forms processing tools and many others. As they're searching for homes that are available, they're using things like the self-service portal, the owner extranet where they can be listed, things like that. I'm going to skip to the last one along the right where you see a yellow circle. And as we look at supporting all of the existing systems that support our everyday experience for our customers, we work really closely with the leased housing department, and LaKeisha Miller is on here who can help me out with this. But we collaborate really closely with LHD and all our business partners, and we look for areas to improve. And there are always areas that we can improve. And on the right-hand side, when there's the recertification phase, our Siebel system has an annual recertification process, of course, and that process can be a little bit confusing. And we've gotten feedback from both the public housing side and the lease housing side that the annual recertification process could be made easier. And so IT has been partnering with a variety of parts of the organization to improve that experience for customers. And very recently, we have done a soft launch of a new look and feel from the annual review process in the Siebel system. And a lot of these improvements have been part of complementing all the great work that LHD has done over the years to move from a standard program to really a high performing program. And we are happy to be partners in that process. Lastly, I'll note that not only do we look to improve what we're doing on individual parts of the process, but we're really looking holistically at the process end to end. So what can we do strategically to make this better? And that means sometimes looking at all of our systems and saying, are there better systems? And so LHD has been working really closely with IT while we support these systems to see, are there different systems that maybe are more strategic, maybe more innovative? And so we've been looking at some cloud platforms that are out in the marketplace. And right now we're in the midst of doing that. We're evaluating different systems that might be a replacement for some or all of these platforms that support LHD and the tenants. And so we aim to make a selection in the next couple of months. And if we do decide to move past, move to other solutions, we'll be working towards that in the coming year. And obviously any solutions we look at have to build on the success we've already achieved and aim to even improve that. Before I move to the next slide, I'm gonna see LaKeisha, do you have anything you wanna add or touch on before we move on?
Sure, thank you, Patty. I just want to say good morning to everyone, Chair, GM, board members. And Patty, I think you did a great job with just showing how the process could be simplified. But I really want to underscore the relationship that we have with IT and how important it is that we collaborate and that we find systems that help support us as we look to maintain not only a high performer status, but also to support us as we work within the transformation plan. So definitely underscore that relationship is extremely important, and we look forward to improving the systems and furthering our relationship with IT.
Thanks so much, LaKeisha.
No problem.
Next, please. So now I'd like to just highlight a few accomplishments that we've achieved over the past year. We have worked with some of our key vendors to get some free support services and conduct some assessments. So for example, Siebel and Maximo, we've been working with vendors to do an assessment of the way we have these platforms implemented to see whether they have some recommendations for how we can improve the operation of the systems and also reduce the support costs associated with those. We've also been working with the vendor on an infrastructure assessment with recommendations there and our cybersecurity program. All of them are producing recommendations that IT is then presenting, creating action plans to implement some or all of those recommendations. On the organizational redesign, I've already touched on this quite a bit. I think Paula, you have a question? Oh, you're on mute.
I'll wait till you finish.
Okay.
I just wanted to get in the queue.
Okay, great, thank you. So on the organizational redesign, I've talked a little bit about the plan, build, and run model. We are really focusing on relationship management. And we're also really trying to invest in how a decentralized IT model can support through the transformation plan, better support for property management offices out in the field. We are professionalizing IT by applying industry best practices in some key areas that haven't necessarily been invested in the past. And we are really trying to mature the communications and processes that we look to guide us in IT. On the vendor side, we are trying to expand some of our options. I mean, there are vendors that we have used again and again, and those are great vendor partnerships, but there are other vendors that often might give an opportunity to reduce costs or to mitigate risks of dependency on one particular vendor, and can also drive innovation for us. We have a number of initiatives that we've completed. I don't need to go through all of these, but we have implemented multi-factor authentication here at NYCHA, which is very important for security. You all know when you're at your bank and they send you kind of a code or something to validate you are who you say you are. That's the kind of thing we've implemented recently here at NYCHA. We have also, as I mentioned, put in some enhancements for the annual recertification, and we've installed color printers at the property management offices, which will be completed in March. We've also achieved some cost savings, which I'm going to show on the next slide. Unless, Paula, you want to ask your question now, which I'm happy to answer.
I'll wait to the end.
Okay, great. Cost savings. So we have looked at a variety of areas where we can achieve cost savings. And we grouped these into 3 categories thus far, although there are always more to come, I hope. Firstly, we've looked around cybersecurity, and what we've done is we've really invested very heavily in a relationship building exercise with NYC3. NYC3 is the city's cybersecurity program, and they really have a lot of products and services that we haven't necessarily taken advantage of here at NYCHA. So now we're starting to do that, and that includes the fact that they have some citywide contracts for cybersecurity products that either are as good as or better than what we already have here. And that allows us to to save money and leverage some of those solutions. So we are on track to save approximately $429,000 this year and in the out years, because that would be an ongoing cost. And next year, an additional $36,000 a year, just by leveraging this partnership with NYC3, which has been really productive. Secondly, we have looked to expand our usage of master service agreements with DoIT and enterprise license agreements. We have done that in the past and always achieved great savings. We're doing that even more now. We have recently, in negotiating with our Microsoft contract, through a combination of leveraging DoIT pricing and through looking at our strategic use of licensing on products and services, we are saving approximately $2 million a year as compared to Microsoft's original proposal. And that would be $2 million a year over a 5-year renewal. Secondly, we are looking at leveraging licensing agreements with additional vendors through some of our mobile devices. And this other vendor has much less expensive plans that we are going to be leveraging for some portion of our mobile solutions. And as we do that over the coming year, we aim to save approximately $200,000 a year. And thirdly, we are really looking very closely at our monthly bills and how we utilize some of these services. And in doing so, we saved approximately $289,000 in FY20. And starting towards the end of FY20 and now on an ongoing basis, we are reducing our monthly spend on mobile and wireless devices by approximately $100,000 a month. Next, please. So lastly, I wanted to talk about some upcoming initiatives. And, you know, these could be thought about in terms of resident-driven, business-driven, and IT-driven, but really they're kind of one and the same, right? IT supports the business supports the residents. And so ultimately, all of them have to complement each other. If we look at the resident-driven initiatives, there are a bunch here. I'll highlight a couple. Call center technology is something we're really focusing on. We are going to be looking at some cloud solutions for call center technology, which has some additional features and can improve upon what we already have today. We are looking at the kiosks. We've been working with operations around looking at putting in some privacy screens to improve the privacy that residents can feel when they are using the kiosks, and also some places to store paper to make it a little bit easier to use these kiosks. And thirdly, we are working right now with a development to implement common area Wi-Fi, so free Wi-Fi in the common areas, and to see how this works, to see if it's something we'll look to expand to other developments in the coming years. On the business side, of course, we're always looking at maximum enhancements to support the HUD agreement and to enhance the work order process. And we're doing that in conjunction with the transformation plan, of course. We are looking at Siebel design improvements, which will also, of course, support our residents that use some of the Siebel components. We are implementing a human capital management system. And as I mentioned, looking at some new Section 8 software. And on the infrastructure side, we are really looking right now in the midst of hardening our data center and improving redundancy where we can. We are upgrading some end-of-life software solutions. We are thinking about how we can use the cloud more strategically to have more of a hybrid model on-prem and cloud. We are investing in cybersecurity and maturing that. And we are looking at how to modernize our application portfolio. All of these are in various stages and a focus point for us for the coming year. Next. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to take any questions.
So this is Paula, Gavin, excuse me. That was great, Patty. Thank you so much. I just wanted to sort of delve a little bit into the resident focus, because I know all my dealings with IT, resident focus is high, and really top of the list. How do we test resident satisfaction and feedback on the systems they use?
That's a fantastic question, and thank you for that. We work really closely with resident engagement and Janelle Hudson and Davita, many people that we've been working with across CEDIA's organization. And they do so in partnership with us. So for example, we rolled out the lobby dashboard proof of concept at Polo Grounds recently, and we had people right on the ground from resident engagement that we had surveys, we did phone calls, we got a lot of really good feedback on what we could do better, what worked well and what did not. We do that always working with DOC, the communications folks as well, and they're very supportive of us. Additionally, another example is on the annual recertification soft launch that we've recently put out there. We work closely with Sylvia Audi and others, and of course in operations, to make sure that we're getting feedback. We have a survey built right into the platform where residents can choose to answer some questions. We're also doing outreach to get feedback. And part of the reason that we're actually doing the soft launch, and it is a pretty extended soft launch actually, is so that we can incorporate the feedback that we're getting into improvements before we launch it system-wide. So we are having a period between February 17th when we did the soft launch and June 1st when we aim to roll it out entirely. We are seeking feedback constantly and we are monitoring that. And where we have opportunities to make improvements, we're doing that before we go live with everybody. Those are some examples. I don't know if that answered your question.
Absolutely, and that's great. And I just think the point you made about, as we think about new systems, assessing what has been the challenges on the current systems and regularly looking at current systems as you plan for the future. So again, I just know how you have prioritized resident in your work. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from any of the other board members? No. Thank you very much, Patty.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. We will now proceed to the calendared items 1 through 20. Razul, items 1 and 2.
Good morning. Item number 1, my name is Rasul Azanjat. I'm the VP for Healthy Home. Item number 1 is authorization requested to award an IDIQ contract, a job order type of contract for general construction to Jamco Electrical Contractor Incorporated. The term of this contract is 2 years with 2 additional 1-year renewal to be exercised as authority sole discretion. The scope of work include, but is not limited to, general construction work, demolition, electrical, roofing, scaffolding, mold remediation, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And basically, this contract will be used anytime we do any type of mold and underlying condition which cause the mold abatement. The term of the minimum requirement of guarantee work is $50,000, and the maximum value of this contract is $10 million. JAMCO is a non-minority contractor, and they have done over $60 million for past 6 years work with NYCHA. The funding for this contract is operating, and its source is federal. JAMCO has indicated on his section 3 that he will be hiring 5 laborers, 2 carpenter, 2 electrician, 1 painter, and 1 plasterer. The VNC on this contractor was dated August 19, 2020, and was vetted, and there is no issue with the VNC. Any question? Okay, I move to item number 2. Item number 2 is authorization to amend the IDIQ contract that was awarded to Tetra Tech Incorporated, and also approve a funding increase to this IDIQ contract that it was awarded to, again, Tetra Tech. The reason for this request is due to we stopped the XRF testing back in the March of last year due to the pandemic for 6-7 months. So we couldn't do any work during that time. So, and the term of the contract was for 18 months with 6 months extension. And we need more time to do finish our XRF testing, which is basically tell us, where we have our lead-based pen in our development and the unit that we haven't been tested. Also, Tetra Tech is a high performer, and they've been doing a lot of, over 50 inspection per day. And that's why we, at the point that we are exhausting the original contract. So the original contract was for $10 million, and this increase of $8 million will give us additional up to not to exceed $18 million. Tetra Tech has done over $12 million in past 2 year work with NYCHA. Tetra Tech is now a minority-owned business enterprise, and the funding is capital, the source combination of city and CDBG. Tetra Tech has indicated in section 3 that he will be hiring 2 inspector helpers. The VNC is not required for increase in the fund. Any question on this contract increase?
Thank you, Rasul.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll proceed to item 3. Carrie?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carrie Jew, Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer of the New York City Housing Authority. This morning, I'm presenting Board Resolution number 3. With this resolution, I'm seeking authorization to ratify the entering into an agreement with Cornerstone On Demand, Inc. for a cloud-based learning management system and learning content. These services were procured via a request for proposals, which was published on October 6, 2020, with a submission deadline of October 27, 2020. 105 firms viewed the solicitation online, 5 firms submitted proposals by the deadline, and 2 proposals were deemed non-responsive for failure to meet the minimum qualifications as required by the RFP. The remaining 3 proposals deemed responsive were reviewed by an evaluation committee comprised of representatives from the compliance, employee engagement, human resources, administration, and information technology departments. These 3 proposals were reviewed based on the following 5 criteria: the qualifications of the proposer, the extent to which the systems, content, and other services satisfy the functional, technical, and business requirements outlined in the RFP, the proposer's cost proposal, prior equivalent work and service experience with governmental entities, and the overall quality of the proposer's response to the RFP. Based on the ratings of the proposals by the RFP Evaluation Committee, the Human Resources Department recommended that the authority enter into an agreement with Cornerstone on Demanding for a cloud-based learning management system and learning content. NYCHA's agreement commenced on January 1st, 2021 for an initial one-year term with 4 one-year renewal options to be renewed automatically at the authority's sole discretion. The not-to-exceed amount of the contract is $1,422,000. The learning management system provides automated notifications for required training and registration confirmations, instructor-led training registration, a calendar of events to upcoming instructor-led training, transcript history and reporting for easy access to employee training history, and user and manager help resources, including in-depth step-by-step guides, tutorials, and other assistance. In addition to the learning management system, Cornerstone will provide related maintenance and technical support, implementation services, testing, and online learning content, including but not limited to the following topics: compliance, diversity and inclusion, executive leadership, supervision and management, soft skills, office productivity, technology, health and wellness, and business acumen. Therefore, I'm requesting your approval to ratify the entering into an agreement with Cornerstone on Demand, Inc. for a cloud-based learning management system and learning content. Any questions?
Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.
We'll proceed to items 4 through 16. Joe?
Yes, good morning. This is Joe Cortine, a VP in Operations. Items 4 through 13 are seeking authorization to award contracts. Item number 4 is an IDIQ contract with Empire Control Abatement Incorporated for all-inclusive maintenance and repairs, environmental services in move-out apartments and court cases. This is a 2-year contract with a 1-year renewal option, and it's requires a joint inspection by the property maintenance supervisor or their designee and a representative of Empire to determine the applicable line items and quantities required in order to restore each apartment to clean, safe, and rent-ready condition. This is a various NGO 1 developments, Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, in the amount of $25,272,000. It is projected. Empire is a woman-owned business enterprise and has a projected hiring of 10 Section 3 hires, which includes 5 laborers, 3 security persons, and 2 carpenters. Questions? Okay. Items 5, 6, and 7 are 3 IDIQ contracts with DDS Mechanical Plumbing and Heating Corporation for gas pipe restoration with asbestos investigation, air monitoring, and asbestos abatement. These are 2-year IDIQ contracts with a 1-year renewal option, and it's for various developments citywide, each in the amount of $5 million. That's items 5, 6, and 7, and in the amount of $5 million each. And it's a non-minority owned business. And the projected Section 3 hirings are 1 plumber for each contract, so the total of 3 plumbers across the 3 contracts. Items 8, 9, and 10 are 3 IDIQ contracts with Encore Construction Contracting Incorporated for cleaning of stair halls and floor maintenance. These are 3 1-year, this is contracts with 3 1-year renewal, 2-year IDIQ contracts with 3 1-year renewal options, and has various developments citywide, each one in the amount of $5,250,000, and each has a projected Section 3 hiring of 3 laborers, so a total across the 3 contracts of 9 laborers, projected Section 3 hires. Items 11 and 12 are regarding 2 IDIQ contracts with J.R. Cruz Corporation for water main repairs. These are 3-year IDIQ contracts with 2 one-year renewal options. These are for various developments citywide, each in the amount of $1,250,000. Section 3 hires projected are 1 each for crossing guard flagmen for each of these contracts. So a total projected Section 3 across these contracts of 2 flagmen and security guards, security persons. Item number 13 seeks authorization to award a requirement contract to New York Environmental Systems Incorporated. This is a 2-year requirement contract with 1-year renewal option. It's for asbestos abatement, reinsulation, and related work. This requires that reinsulation to be asbestos-free and mold resistant. And it's not limited to pipes, includes but not limited to pipes, steam lines, and boilers. The contract is citywide in the amount of $1,876,997.24. And the projected Section 3 hire are 2 for 2 asbestos handlers. Items 14 through 16 are seeking funding increases. First, item number 14 is with National Grid Emergency Management, LLC, for heating management and maintenance and repair services. This was a overall 10-year contract with 2 one-year renewal options. For this funding is for the period of January 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2025 in the amount of $32,949,167.50. And this is for various developments citywide. Item number 15 is a contract with George S. Hall Incorporated, also for heating management, maintenance, and repair services. It's also initial 10-year term with 2 one-year renewal options. This funding is for the period of January 1st of 2021 through May 31st of 2025. And it's for various developments citywide in the amount of $31,263,951.81. And the Section 3 proposed hiring of 1 boiler technician. Item number 16 is a contract with RP General Construction Incorporated, Corporation, for window repair and or replacement. It's a 2-year term with a 1-year renewal option. It's for window repair replacement. It's furnishing all labor, material, equipment, insurance, incidentals required for that window repair replacement. It's for various developments in Manhattan in the amount of $1,339,798.94 with a projected Section 3 hiring of 1 carpenter. Any questions?
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Items 17 through 20, Joy Cinderbrand.
I am Joy Cinderbrand. I'm the Vice President of the Recovery and Resilience Department in the Capital Projects Division, and I'll be presenting for Steve Lovesey today. He had a conflict. Do I do the presentation first or the items first?
Yes, you do not need to do the presentation, but you're asking that the reports, the 2 reports that were presented at the Q&As be added to the record. And if the board members has any questions or further questions on those 2 reports, they will ask it of you and you will respond.
Okay. Well then, I would like to ask if the 2 presentations that were given at the board Q&A can be added to the record, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
So added.
Okay.
Proceed with items. Yes.
You got it.
Thank you.
So I'll proceed with item 17. Item 17, CPD is seeking board authorization to award a contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Empire Control Abatement, for replacement of underground steam system and water and fire line distribution piping at Polo Ground Towers in the amount of $6,867,000. This vendor name check has already been performed, and they found no issue to preclude award. And this is a federally funded project, and they anticipate 3 Section 3 hires. The next 3 board items are associated with the Recovery and Resilience Program, and they represent relatively small amounts that we come to the board for because we have reached the threshold of change orders exceeding $1 million. These tend to be larger projects, but it also gives me an opportunity to talk through some of the in the weeds information about what challenges face projects like this that are very comprehensive. The first one, item 18, is CPD requesting board authorization to ratify a change order in the amount of $19,625 with Cohn Pedersen Fox Associates, the architecture and engineering agent for Sandy recovery at Red Hook East and West. In this case, KPF was asked to do some additional design work, and we've already started this project when there were sewer lines represented on drawings provided by DEP that during construction were discovered to be non-existent. And so those drawings had to be redone. Additionally, DEP requested that NYCHA enter into an easement agreement. And that easement agreement required the easement drawings done for some existing piping at Red Hook. And so KPF is assisting us with that process as well. This will be federally funded through the emergency management through the FEMA funds. Item 19 is CPD requesting board authorization to ratify an increase to the contract with Novelist Tile for the restoration associated with Sandy recovery at Astoria houses in the amount of $5,883. In this case, work that was completed by Sandy recovery, this was lighting work that was completed near basketball court, was found to be non-functional, and it was determined that some unknown third party had damaged the equipment after its installation, but we didn't want to delay repair and return of the lighting to that impacted the residents, and so we asked Novelist to immediately do those repairs for us. And finally, item 20. CPD seeks authorization to ratify a funding increase in the amount of $46,340, the contract with Adam European Contracting Inc. for the restoration associated with Sandy Recovery Program at Gowanus houses. In this case, in addition to the Sandy Recovery work that we were doing at Gowanus, for efficiency's sake, the Sandy contractor was also doing local law 11 work since we were already mobilized and managing it at the site. And at 3 of the buildings, 4, 6, and 11, additional asbestos was discovered that required abatement. And so they were directed to proceed with that work immediately to avoid delays in the repairs. Any questions for me?
No questions. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we proceed to the approval voting, just wanted to note for the record that board members Gonzalez and board member Adams are absent today. So I'll just take an additional roll call before I do the approval voting. Chair, I still see you there. Chair
Yes,
Russ, Paula Gavin.
Here.
Matt Gewalb.
Yes.
And Jacqueline Young.
Here.
Thank you so much. And Chair, 20 items were presented for board approval. May I have a motion to approve the 20 items?
Motion.
Young. Second?
Gavin.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Chair, being that all matters before the board today have been addressed, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
And that was, I'm sorry?
That's the chair.
Chair Russ. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Second?
Second. Yeah.
Young. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? None? Thank you so much. The recorded end time, 10 7:59 a.m. Thank you all. The next NYCHA board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 31st, 2021 at 10 a.m. Everyone stay safe.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good day, everyone.
Bye-bye.